Well, good morning everyone, I hope you're all well. And finally, we've got up this morning to some really lovely weather. So we're just into the start of April now. And obviously the clocks went forward last weekend as well. So we're now got lighter evenings. And as I say, this week the weather's warmed up quite a bit. So they're just saying on the radio there that today could possibly be the hottest day of the year. In some places it's going to reach 20 degrees. I don't think it's going to be 20 degrees on the beach today. It might be a little bit cooler because we are blessed today with a little bit of an easterly breeze, and it's going to be picking up later on, late afternoon, to quite a brisk breeze. So today I've decided on a fairly short trip. I'm heading back to North Norfolk, and I'm going to pick up one of the venues which I haven't yet covered. I think I've done a brief how to get there guide and facilities, etc., but I didn't actually fish it. So I'm going to go back there today and have a go. I'm going to get some rods out, show you the layout of the beach, explain a few things that you need to know about that beach. And today we're going to Bacton. So we've got only about 35 minutes journey today, which is probably one of the shorter ones. And I'm now heading sort of slightly across country. I'm trying to avoid the rush hour traffic on the main roads. So I figure coming this way I should cut out most of that traffic. Once I get there, obviously I'll run through the car parking as usual, and we'll also cover the facilities that are in the area and do a little bit of fishing. I've got the little dog with me today, Sadie, so I will be putting the shelter up today, but as opposed to being like wet or windy, it's going to be from the sun today, which certainly makes a change. So what I'll do is I'll get on down there now, get to the car park, and I'll come back to you once I'm there. Well, just passing now through the Bacton gas terminal. And we're not far from the car park now. That's literally just around a couple of bends. Comes up quite quick, this car park, so you've got to be careful. On the left here is the Castaways Holiday Park. This is where the HQ is for most of the big matches up this end, especially like the Bass Festival and teams of 5, Norfolk teams of 5 and things like that. So as you come around that corner, coming up quick on the left here, you'll see the entrance to the car park. There is a height restriction, I believe, or there was last time I was here. Yep. So got to be a little bit careful with this car park. It is unmade, quite a few bumps and ruts. Actually not as bad as it was last time I came. They filled a few of them in by the looks of it. Okay, what we're going to do now is spin around and park, and then I'll give you a look at the car park charges on the board just there. Okay, here are the charges for parking. So it's a little bit steep, I think. No 6-hour option, which is sort of what most anglers would probably do. So I'm going to have to go for the 24 hours option, which is £8.50. Saying that, I haven't had to drive far today, and I normally pay £4 for parking, so that sort of balances itself out. Machine there, so it takes card payments, I believe. There's also cashless parking if you're into all that on the side there. Using that app, you can do it by the app. So as we say, an unmade car park, plenty of room, and direct access by this wooden slope here straight down onto the beach. So what I'm probably going to do is, I'm not going to go straight down, I'm going to probably walk along to the end of the revetments there. Judging by my calculation, I've got about 2 and a bit hours to high tide, so I'll get set up down there, try and find the high tide line, get the shelter up for the dog, and then we'll make a start. Well, I've made my way down onto the beach. Up there you can see in the distance is just where the car's parked in the car park. So I've just walked a little bit left down onto the beach. Now this has changed since the last time I was here, and you'll probably notice later on I'm togged up with waders. That's because there was a massive great gully here last time. You needed waders to get across it, but it seems to have gone now. So this beach changes from week to week, month to month. And at the moment it's not here. It may be further out. So we've got a nice little steady roll on the sea. We've got 2 hours to high tide. So I'm now going to get some gear set up. Tripods there. Dogs there in the shade already. So next thing is to get some rods and reels ready. Okay, I've set 2 rods up today. I've set up my normal Pro Mark II. But I've also brought the smaller brother today, which is the little Bass Mark 1 from the same company, Any Fish Anywhere. It's a foot shorter and a little bit softer in the tip. It's a lighter rod, and so today with the intention will be to fish that one probably closer in, hopefully looking for an early bass, while the other one I can push out a bit further with the normal sort of gear, and we'll see how it goes from there. She's already settled in. She's found the sun. She won't go in the shade at the moment. She likes a bit of a sunbathe. Dog galore, I'm afraid, today. A few swimmers in up there as well, but a lot of dogs. So might have that to contend with. Both rods fitted with the old Millionaire Mark 1s, black ones, and the usual 15-pound line, 70-pound shock leaders. And let's go through the rigs. Right, what I've decided to do, I'm going to fish a 2-hook loop rig with size 2s, but they're a different pattern to what I normally use, so a slightly bigger size 2 on that one. And on the closer in rod, I'm going to fish a 2-hook flapper with the normal size 2 Arno hooks. Today's baits, I've got a few ragworm left over from Monday night. I've tried my best to keep them in decent condition. I actually took some fresh seawater home with me Monday, and I've been flushing them out every other day. I've got a strip of mackerel fillet. I've got a few little squids down at the back there. You see my normal wrapper blacks, fresh blacks. I always bring them as a backup. I've got a few sand eels tucked away as well, still frozen. I like to keep them frozen until I use them. So what I'll do now is get some rigs on, get baited up and get them out. Okay, got the first bait on, and that's a little squid with a few tentacles on the bottom hook. And on the top hook of this loop rig, I've got a sand eel and squid wrap. And I'm just going to put that one out now first and see how we get on. This absolutely hundreds of dogs, so I'm having to watch the little one because she's very interested. But let's get this first rod out and get fishing. Bosh. That's gone out a fair old distance for the first cast. We'll see how it goes. Touch wood, don't look like there's any weed on the beach at the moment, which is one thing that can affect this venue, is the weed. So, first rod's the 2-hook flapper, and what I've done, I've fitted it with a what they call a hybrid, so it's got a bit of grip on it, but it's a plain lead essentially. And then 2 lovely ragworm baits on size 2s. I'm going to put that a little bit closer in on the smaller rod, or the lighter rod should I say. See if we can tempt either a nice flatfish or maybe even a bass. Looks like quite a bit of tide pull on that one. It's come across a little bit. So what I'll do is move that one over to that side and change that one over to that side. It may mean I've got to use grip wires on both rods, looking at that, but we'll give it a test. So if I cast it shorter, it should technically go under the other rod anyway. I'm not going to put this one too far at all. Maybe 30 yards, 40 yards at the most. I'm going to put it a little bit up tide, because those leads are designed to find a little nicking the bottom and grip. So there you go. About 30 yards. Nice gentle little swing. Now if that does pull round, then I'll obviously have to go over to a grip lid as well. Right, so what can we expect at this time of year? So now we're just moving into the spring and this slightly better, warmer weather. We should start seeing the summer species start turning up, and we have already, to be fair. I've had a few reports of the odd dogfish coming in, and even from the next beach down, which is Walcott, last week I believe there were a couple of small, tiny little smoothhounds caught, so that's an encouraging sign for this summer. Now, as I said before, this is one of the beaches they use for the Bass Festival. And by the time the Bass Festival's here, it'll be full on smoothhounds. You do get good bass here as well, but it'll be the smoothhounds you'll need to probably do well in that match if they're here. With the little flapper rod out there, with the worm, I'm also expecting possibly maybe dabs, flounders, and if we're very lucky, a sole. Probably a little bit early for sole. Schoolie bass on the worms, definitely. It's about this time of year they start turning up. We've had a little bit of a week of easterlies, and we've got the rest of this week of easterlies, but today there's virtually no wind at all on this beach at the moment. This afternoon it's predicted to pick up to 20 mile an hour plus, and then not so much for the conditions, but you'll feel it in the wind from the east. So anyone who is sort of interested in maybe even staying right on the beach, we've got behind me here literally 50 feet away from the bottom of those steps over there, and that is Castaways Holiday Village up there, where you can hire caravans, mobile homes and things like that. They've got brilliant facilities in there. They've got a bar, a restaurant, I think they've got a games room, obviously toilets and showers and things like that, I believe. But yeah, if you're planning on coming down here and you want to stay right on the beach and do a bit of fishing, that is an ideal spot. And I'll leave all the details for Castaways in the description. That is also the headquarters where they run the Bass Festival from. So if you do come to fish the Bass Festival, that's where it's all going on in there. That has gone slack. Could possibly be something on here. Heavy and light all the way in, but I think, judging by the way that ping back slacked, something's moved it. There's a fish on there, I believe. It's quite a distance out, this one. I can see the other one starting to catch in the way, so I might have to lift it up a little bit. What have we got here? First fish of the day, I hope. And it's on the first cast, so it's hopefully not a curse to the first cast, but yep. We've got a fish on there, and it is what I expected it to be. A dogfish and a little whiting. So there you go. Oh, he's dropped straight off. That makes it easier. I'll put him in my bucket. There he is. First one of the day. I expect a few of them, and on the other hook, which is the sand eel, we've got a pin whiting. So let's just sort that out. Okay. Who's come to have a look at my dogfish? This is a dogfish. There you go, you don't like dogfish. So that's the first one of the day. It's going to come in on the scale at about 56 centimetres. So hopefully it'll be the start of many to come. You can't have that. You've got to go back. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to warm up, bring that other rod in. See how that worm's fared. It stayed in the same place, which is remarkable, considering it's not a grip lead, it's a hybrid. It has stayed in the same place. A few little taps on it earlier on, so there potentially could be a little flatty on there. What I'm going to do with this rod a little bit later on is put on a whole mini squid and flick it right in the edge. See if there's any bass about. Yeah, what we've got on there. Tiny little whiting. So these little pin whiting are still about in fairly substantial numbers by the looks of it. I'll get him put straight back. We're in about 45 minutes now to high tide. And I normally like to fish this just up to the top then down. I've just got to adjust that right hand rod because it's a little bit low in the water there. And that's starting to catch the edge of the breakers. And potentially I might have to put a grip on that because I think that is pulling it in a little bit but then settling. Just try and tighten it up first. So although today I've come down and I've kitted myself out with my waders, the way the beach layout is at the moment, you don't actually need them. But I've been down here before when there's been quite a substantial gully along here. And sometimes you've got a big dip and it's up to sort of over knee height, it's sort of thigh height. And you need waders to get over it and back when you're casting or retrieving fish. Just a little further out, a little sandbank will start appearing later on as the tide ebbs. So if you haven't got waders, you're stuck on this side of the gully. So it's always worth putting them in. As I say, today doesn't look like I'm going to need them today. These beaches do change quite regularly. Right, what I've decided to do is on the bass rod, or the smaller rod shall I say, I've rigged up a fixed paternoster, so there's a 24-inch paternoster on there, two 2/0 hooks, one's a circle on the top, there's a whole mini squid on there. I'm going to flick that out into the surf and it's going to have a grip lead on it, and we'll see if we can tempt ourselves a little bass with that. It's worked here in the past, so that'll be the next cast on the little rod when it comes in. Wow. The tiniest little whiting you've ever seen in your life. They were born bigger than that. Let's get him straight back. Left hand rod again. Just going to tighten that left hand rod up and see if that is a fish. It should. As I'll just move the lead, get some sort of indication, hopefully. And because it's not a grip lead, I can actually pick that up and move that a foot or two. And that again will give me an idea if it's hooked. Can't feel anything. I can feel the lead now just sliding across the sand, so maybe that was a false alarm. I've just set the curve on that again now, so the idea is if anything disturbs it, that will ping back slack. feels a little bit heavy, considering there's only that hybrid lead on there. I'd say there's a fish on there. If it's not a fish, it's someone else's gear. I had that little indication earlier on and tightened up on it, and that must have been a fish. Let's have a look. What we got here? Yep, another fish. And it is another tiny little, oh, it's a tiny little smooth hound. There you go. First little smooth hound of the season. It is tiny, yes, but it is a little hound. Let me show you. It's a little bit of squid and mackerel. And it's not the smallest hound I've ever caught, believe it or not, but that is the first one of the season. It's nice to see him here already. So easy, straight out the bottom. That's got to go over here. And there you go. A lovely little smoothie. Let's get him back. Well, there you go. I wasn't exactly expecting that today. I thought there'd be a few dogfish about. But as I did say earlier, there has been one or two caught a little bit further along, so all fingers crossed it could be a good season this year. Because it was a good season last year, but it was a very short season. They were there and gone. They were there at the end of April, probably for a good month, and then they disappeared. So normally on these coasts, especially on the North Norfolk coast, they then make a later appearance, July and August into September, but they didn't. There was only odd ones caught here and there. There wasn't no sort of multiple catches of them. So fingers crossed, with them being there this early, as I say, 5th of April today, maybe we're going to have a decent season. So a quick rundown of the species. For this time of the year, as we said, you're going to get the end of the whiting, which we're getting, and they normally thin out by the end of this month. You'll still get odd ones all the way through, right up to May, end of May even. And you still get the odd ones in the middle of the summer. But they'll thin out soon. The dogfish will then move in fairly substantial numbers. You can normally come down here and whatever you put on, you'll have a dogfish. Next come the smooth hounds. End of April onwards, smooth hounds will turn up here, and you can get some really good catches. Get the tide right, avoid the dreaded weed, and you can really come down here and have a good session. If you look back at some of Pond Pete's videos, you'll see he does a couple of our club matches down here at Bacton, and he also does 2 days of the Bass Festival. So he does one down here at Bacton, and then the second day is at Kelling. But both the 2 years he's done the Bacton videos here, there's been smooth hounds caught by some very top anglers, and they really show you the way how to winkle them out. They cast in massive distances, so that gives them a bit of an advantage over the rest of the people who can't cast as far. Don't get me wrong, you don't have to cast far. I know someone who brings their 2 kids who are a member of the club I fish for. They come down here, and last week they've had a couple, and they won't be casting a million miles out. So it's not always a big cast, but that does help in those high pressure match situations. What else can we get? Plenty of flatties normally, dabs mainly along here. You do get the odd flounder, but unfortunately they seem to be getting thinner and thinner in numbers over the last few years. No one's really got any idea why. Potentially seals are eating more of them, or have had more of them in the past and they're not breeding. Yeah, we don't really know, but we definitely do know they're not around in the numbers they were a few years ago. So you can also pick up the pouting. You do get the odd ray along here, normally thornbacks, but again, you couldn't really come down here and target them and expect to catch one on maybe your first go. If you put the time in and put the effort in and use the right baits, i.e. fresh herring, sand eel, stuff like that. You will pick up the odd ray along this coast. Obviously, once the water warms up a little bit, you're going to get a good run of bass along here, and normally the rougher the better for the bass, and you don't want to be fishing too far out. I've seen some of the best bass caught along this beach, literally behind the first or second set of breakers, which could be 25 yards out. Something like fresh yellowtails or a bit of peeler crab, just tucked in behind those breakers, can sort you out a decent bass. And any time from now onwards, you'd expect them to turn up. And again, in the Bass Festival, which is May, you do see some good specimens turn up. Six pounder, I think there was last year. Oh, I just baited another hook link up for the left-hand rod. A couple of little pulls earlier on, but I've left it. Nothing's really developed, but it might be still hanging on there. There's not a lot of tide today, so I'm going to change this rig. I probably won't be here much longer. I'll probably have another half an hour and then call it a day. It's only ever going to be a short session today, just to give you a rough layout and the idea of things. I can feel that now. It's coming over that sandbar. So you come in fairly light, then it gets heavy, then it goes light again, and that's basically your line cutting into the top of that sandbar. That's always worth keeping a check on your line for any nicks and scrapes. Once that's happened, you can normally feel it when you're thumbing the line through onto the reel. Still feels all smooth. Normally it's around the leader knots. Always have a quick look there. That all looks good. Right, quick change. Put the link on this one now. Keep an eye on where that rig is on the floor. And I'm going to just open the mag a bit. Just get a little bit more oomph into this one. A little bit more distance, just shut that mag back off. Just to see if it makes any difference. Might be a bit more tide out there. Find the rig, that's the main thing. I'm probably going to make this the last cast now. Tide's now, what, an hour and a bit down. I only plan to fish an hour up and an hour down today. That breeze hasn't materialised yet, but I think it's due to about 4 o'clock time this afternoon, so a couple of hours yet. Yeah, so I hope that sort of give you a rough idea of the layout down here, where you're parking, what sort of species you're looking for. Facilities, a bit limited unless you use the Castaways. They've got a bar and restaurant in there. They do lovely food and drinks, obviously, and so I think if you go up there and have something to eat, you would be able to use their facilities. So I'm gonna call it a day in a minute, reel in, get home, got a few jobs to do this afternoon, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again somewhere soon.